Okay, so now we're at question number 22 of the ACT English test. Let's read it as is. Driving home from school one chilly October evening, my collection got its start. Okay, so there's something very clear that's wrong with this answer, or wrong with the sentence as written. But before we go into that, if you're not quite sure what to do, this would be a good choice where you can find the most concise answer and then subvocalize that. Now, there's one type of concision, right? One type of concise answer we have not gone over yet. Now, the first type is going to be find the one that is the least wordy, right? Or you could say the shortest, the least amount of words. The second, it would be the least amount of punctuation. So less, I'll just say less punctuation. Now, there's a third, rare form of concision, and that's where we have a subject and a verb that are in the front of a sentence. So if we have the subject and the verb over here, and we have another sentence that is exactly the same, but the subject and verb is up front, we want the one that has the subject and verb up front. Okay, so out of all of these questions here, out of all of these answer choices, I should say, which is the one that has the subject up front? Okay, so if you thought about it and you looked at these, and you can pause if you need some more time, you should arrive at answer choice H. So the second step would be to subvocalize that one. Okay, so subvocalize it. Hear how that one sounds. I started my collection one chilly October evening, driving home from school. Okay, how does that sound? Right, that sounds pretty good. And if you were competing with some of the other options, you might have picked the ones that have no commas, which include G and J. And just for fun, why don't we try one of them? Driving home from school one chilly October evening was the beginning of my collection. Sounds a bit awkward, doesn't it? Right. And you'll notice the same thing with J. So I want, in the future, when you look at questions, find the one that has the subject up front. This is a common type of question that you're going to see on the ACT. Okay, so we went through it, and if you weren't sure what to do, you could use this technique, arrive at answer choice H, and then move on. But let's talk about why H is right, and more importantly, why the other ones are not right. So we have had a conversation about modifiers and modifier placement. Modifiers need to be placed next to the thing that they're modifying. Okay, so I'm going to say here's the modifier, here's the object that it's modifying, and you want it next to that object. You wouldn't want the object over here and the modifier over there. It can get confusing, and I'll show you some examples right now. Now, we've showed this worksheet before, and I'm not going to run through all of these examples. We'll just run through a few. Why don't we take a look at this one right here? This one says, I nearly eat breakfast every morning. That's kind of funny. So I nearly eat breakfast. So I almost do, but I seem to miss every morning. The correctly placed one, I eat breakfast nearly every morning. Okay, this one sounds more appropriate. It's mentioning that I eat breakfast almost every day. Okay, so the placement of the modifier definitely changes the meaning. Now, why don't we take a look at this one? This one is more to the point with the question that we were referring to on the test. Badly stained and missing a leg. Okay, so here's the modifier. And remember, it's placed next to the thing it's modifying. Tina bid $15 for the old table. So it makes it seem as if Tina is the one that's badly stained and missing a leg. But is that correct? Why don't we check this one out and see if this one sounds more accurate. Tina bid $15 for the old table. Badly stained and missing a leg. Okay, so this one is correctly modifying the word table. I think at this point you understand the differences between them. So why don't we take a look at some of these answer choices and figure out what's wrong. Driving home from school one chilly October evening, my collection. So was my collection driving home from school? No, it wasn't. So this is an example of a misplaced modifier. Let's read answer choice G. Driving home from school one chilly October evening was the beginning of my collection. So driving home from school was the beginning of the collection, right? That just doesn't even make sense. How about J? The start of my collection came to me driving home from school one chilly October evening. So I think what the author would mean to say if they picked J is the thoughts, right? The thought of starting my collection came to me, not the start of the collection, right? That wouldn't make any sense. So again, we ran through all of the answer choices, and this time we correctly assessed that these were all misplaced modifiers. And again, we arrived to answer choice H. So there are two ways to answer this question, right? If you're not sure what to do or you didn't recognize the misplaced modifier in the beginning here, you want to use your concision technique. In this case, you're looking for the one with the subject and verb in the front of the sentence rather than in the middle of the sentence. Then you want to subvocalize that and hear how it sounds. We arrived to answer choice H because that sounds appropriate. But then we went through the actual rules that were missing and the reasons why F, G, and J were incorrect, and that's because of misplaced modifiers. Thank you.